My name is Serena Williams. I am 60 years old tonight, and this is the first time I have ever told the whole truth out loud. For 45 years I kept it locked behind my teeth like a scream in a sealed jar, but the jar is breaking now. If you stay with me, if you really stay, you will hear things that will hurt. You will hear how a life can begin in sunlight and end in a darkness so complete that even God seems to look away. This is the true story of how happiness turned into horror, and how I am still breathing on the other side of it. I was born in the summer of 1965 on Maple Street, Charleston, South Carolina, in a little brick house that smelled of magnolia blossoms and my daddy's sawdust. Mama's hands were never still. She pressed love into every shirt collar the way other people pressed flowers. Daddy came home whistling, pockets full of wood shavings and stories. I thought the world was gentle because it was gentle to me. I had a sister, Elena, 2 years older. From the beginning she watched me the way a cat watches a bird, patient, hungry, certain it will win. When I was 5 she stared at my new doll until I placed it in her arms without a word. When I was 7 she stared at the seat beside Mama at church until I slid over. I thought that was love. I thought giving her everything would finally make her love me back. I was wrong, but I was too young to know it. Across the street lived Nora Thompson, freckles like cinnamon, curls like fire. We were 7 when we cut our palms beneath the oak tree and swore blood sisterhood until the stars fell. We caught fireflies in mason jars, lay on our backs in the grass, and planned lives that glittered like the sky above us. Nora used to cup my face in her small hands and say, "Serena, your heart is too big for this town. One day it's going to carry you somewhere the light never leaves." I believed her. God, I believed her. 16 arrived like a fever. Suddenly, men slowed their cars. Old men in church looked too long. I hated the weight of their eyes, until the Sunday Daniel Williams walked into the choir loft wearing navy dress whites. 22 years old, quiet voice, shoulders that carried oceans. He waited outside every Sunday for 6 weeks before he spoke. When he finally did, his voice shook. "I think the Lord put you here to ruin me for every other woman." I laughed so hard I snorted. He laughed too, and just like that, I was his. We courted slow and proper. Long walks along the Battery at sunset. Letters that smelled of salt and hope. When he asked me to marry him, he didn't kneel. He just took both my hands and said, "Serena, I'm not rich, I'm not fancy, but I will love you every day until I die." I said yes before he finished. April 27, 1985. White peonies everywhere. Nora, in lavender, crying happy tears. Elena in the second pew wearing a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Daniel carried me over the threshold of the little blue house on Rutledge Avenue and whispered against my ear, "I'm going to give you the whole world, baby girl." For 5 years he almost did. Next door lived Mrs. Margaret Collins, 83, tiny, fierce, always baking. She would tap on our door with a pie still warm and say, "Child, marriage is like yeast bread, hot hands, long rising, and a whole lot of patience." I wrote her words inside my ribcage. At the library where I worked there was Anna Davis, blonde, honey-sweet voice. Fingers that lingered too long on Daniel's arm whenever he came to pick me up. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself love meant trusting even when it hurt. But the hurt began to arrive in small, polite doses. Daniel started coming home late, inventory at the warehouse. He smelled of a cologne I never bought him. His kisses tasted like apologies he never spoke. When I asked, he would smooth my hair and say, "Don't borrow trouble, Serena." So I swallowed the trouble. It sat in my throat like shards of glass. October 1998. I was hunting for his old navy sweater to mend a tear. In the back of his closet I found a locked metal box I had never seen before. My fingers remembered how Nora taught me to pick locks when we were 12. Inside, thick bundles of cash bound with rubber bands, keys to doors I did not recognize, dozens of love letters in handwriting that wasn't mine, and one photograph, Daniel Younger, smiling, arm draped around Richard Hale, our family friend. Richard's hand rested low on Daniel's waist, intimate, possessive. The floor fell away. I sat among the dust and the secrets and felt the world tilt until I didn't know which way was up. That night Daniel came home, saw my face, closed the bedroom door soft as a coffin lid. He didn't shout. He simply sat on the edge of the bed and cried without sound, tears falling straight onto his clasped hands. "Serena, I thought if I loved you hard enough it would die inside me. I thought I could choose you and be fixed. I asked the only question left. Do you love him? He looked at me for the longest minute of my life, then nodded once. I walked barefoot into the backyard and stood in the cold until Mrs. Collins found me at 2 a.m., wrapped her quilt around my shoulders and said, "Some storms you don't see coming, baby girl, but you survived them anyway." 3 days later, Daniel disappeared. No note, half his clothes gone, the metal box gone, only his wedding ring spinning slowly on the kitchen table like a clock that had forgotten how to tick. Richard Hale started appearing at my fence, leaning, smiling that sick smile, asking if Daniel had come to his senses yet. His eyes crawled over me like damp fingers. Elena suddenly wanted to be close again. She brought casseroles, held my hand too tight, told me I was better off alone. I was so hollow, I let her fill the space. Then came the hurricane night, October 2001, power out, windows screaming, rain like fists on the roof. I sat alone with 3 candles guttering when I heard the front door ease open, slow footsteps on the hardwood. I took Daniel's service revolver from the drawer and stood in the hallway, shaking so hard my teeth sang. A shadow moved. I raised the gun. Elena soaked to the bone, eyes shining like wet knives. She said she was worried about me in the storm. She hugged me too hard, and I felt something cold press against my ribs. Metal, a key, the same key from the box. I pulled back. She smiled the same smile she wore the day she finally got my favorite doll. That's when the police knocked. Detective Marcus Reed sat me down with coffee I couldn't drink and told me the truth in a voice gentle as falling ash. Daniel and Richard had been running drugs and money up the coast for years. The cash, the keys, the disappearances, all part of it. Daniel didn't leave because he loved Richard. He left because Richard threatened to put a bullet in my head if Daniel didn't vanish forever. And Elena, my own blood sister, had been taking Richard's money for years to feed him every detail of my life. When I left for work, when I slept, when I cried, she wanted Daniel gone. She wanted me destroyed. She wanted to watch me burn so she could finally be the one people pitied. They never found Daniel. Some say he's dead in a ditch wearing a name I never knew. Some say he's alive under a different sky. I stopped looking a long time ago. Dr. Aaron Blake spent 15 years sitting across from me, helping me dig up the memories I buried so deep they grew roots. Elena standing outside our bedroom window listening to us make love. Elena smiling when I miscarried the only baby we ever conceived. Elena whispering at 7 years old, "One day you'll have nothing and I'll still have you." I visited her once in prison. Plexiglass between us. I asked the only question left. "Why?" She leaned forward, eyes glittering, and said, "Because Mama loved you more, and the universe owed me your life." Mrs. Collins is dust now. I bring peonies to her grave every Sunday and tell her the parts I can't tell anyone else. Nora writes real letters from California, still signs them. "Your heart is too big for this town." The little blue house still stands. Some nights the rain comes again, hard, like that night, and I sit in the dark with tea gone cold and talk to the ghosts. If you're listening and your heart is breaking for the girl I was, hear the woman I've become. Love is not the absence of secrets. Love is the courage to stay when the secrets crawl into the light and still choose kindness. I didn't have that courage then. I do now. Forgive if you can. If you can't, forgive yourself for carrying the scar. And never let anyone, sister, husband, friend, make you believe your pain is a debt you owe them. The storm always ends. Morning always comes. Sometimes the house is gone. Sometimes only you remain. But you, my darling listener, you are still breathing. And that single stubborn heartbeat is the only victory the darkness can never steal. This is Serena Williams, 60 years old, still here, still enough.